Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi, I'm Rob Charny, and it's Crime Beat. I'm here with my best friend, John D'Agostini, Sheriff of Dorado County. John, thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it. And this is our opportunity to talk about some of the things that go on in the county and what happens with the Sheriff's Department and, just all those things, because there's so much going on at the Sheriff's Department with some great stuff. We've got some, you don't want to see stuff, but, it's all part of life and all part of it. And so... we want to start with one of the things that I know that you've been going and talking about, and is that sanctuary city situation that seems that Governor Brown wants to shove down our throats. And tell us about it.
Well,
everybody knows how I feel.
Right. We're actually hoping, and there is actually a slim chance, according to the conversations with that I've had with some of my peers in California State Sheriff's Association who have been in contact with the governor's office. He may actually veto this one. For his own reasons.
You know how? He knows how to veto?
He actually knows how to. But we will see. I guess there's still 15 votes up that are moderate Dems that are up on this bill that we're trying to convince. If we can get all 15 of them, we're in good shape out of the assembly. But this is bad. One thing that was very telling on this whole issue on SB 54 was I was in a meeting with different legislators down at the Capitol, different sheriffs, talking about SB 54, and the words that I heard, I part of me couldn't believe it, but part of me says, well, yep, this is exactly what it is, which I knew, and the word was, we understand this is bad law. We understand this is bad policy, but it's great politics. And I kid you not, that was out of our legislators' own mouth, some of them. This is a kick to the Trump administration, period. It is what it is. Or not unfortunately. Fortunately, I firmly believe, in researching the law and talking to different attorneys, different counsel, this is absolutely unconstitutional, and it was found such as recently as just a few years in Arizona's their AB 1070, which was just the opposite of SB 54.
Okay.
AB 1070 was under the Obama administration. If you remember, Arizona was really fed up and said, you know what, you're not doing your job, so we're going to do it.
Right. So
they passed AB 1070, which gave local law enforcement a lot of more authority to deal with immigration issues. Well, the federal government sued them right off the bat as soon as it was passed and won and said, no, this is the purview of the federal government. This is not a states' rights issue. This is constitutional. And they're right.
Okay.
It is constitutional. Immigration, or naturalization as it is in the Constitution, is the duty of the federal government. So now we have SB 54, which is the complete opposite. You have the federal government saying, we're going to enforce these laws. You have state of California saying, no, you're not. This is going to be a sanctuary. So that law that was just ruled on is now going to bite them in the butt. So, I've been very vocal that I oppose SB 54. I've been very vocal that this is one law that I believe that should it pass, we are going to continue to abide with federal law, and should it come to that point, or which it will come to that point, in court will prevail. Now, I don't think that I'm going to end up being the poster child for this, because we have very little of these issues in El Dorado County.
Right.
But, there are some very conservative sheriffs in Kern County, Fresno County, Stanislaus County that deal with this daily.
Right.
And I think that's where the case law will come out of one of those counties. But to tell a sheriff or a local a police chief, or any local agency, that you're not going to cooperate with the federal government regarding a criminal alien who is committing crimes in our community.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Now, my understanding too was when you arrest these people, they spend their time. Let's say they're adjudicated and they're spending their time in your hotel, and they're being released. The object was you needed to call ICE,
Right.
and ICE is supposed to take it from there.
Correct.
Does that happen?
Yes.
Okay, so
That
ICE
happens.
is
That happens, but on a very limited basis because of ICE's new rules, which haven't changed. They don't deport everybody. They don't take everybody. Let them know who you have. Hey, this person, so and so, they're being released this date at this time. ICE runs them through their system. If they're not serious or violent, or some of the other
so they're making
criteria,
a choice.
they're making a choice
Okay.
whether or not they show up and pick them up. But SB 54 will prohibit us from contacting them and notifying them of that information. To me, I don't care if it's a DUI suspect. If it's a DUI suspect that's been arrested, they've already made a choice to break the law. They're already here illegally, number one.
Right.
They made another choice to ignore the law.
Right.
And now they're going to get released back into our community. What
Right.
happens if this person, and we've heard the horror, the Kate Steinle and everything else.
Yeah.
We've heard those horror stories. But just a DUI suspect gets out of jail and goes back to the bar and drinks some more, or goes home and drinks some more and goes out and now kills somebody. This is when we have an opportunity to stop that.
Right.
It just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, because what part of being a criminal, isn't understood here, and then you have somebody who's here illegally anyway, which is totally breaking the law.
Our ag community, right when this issue came up, the ag community got a little bit, not upset with me, but they were a little concerned with what I was saying. Well, I'm not saying what they think I'm saying.
No.
El Dorado County Sheriff's Office or any of the police departments in the county, we're not immigration agents. We never have been immigration agents. We don't go to the vineyards. We don't go to any of the ag communities and do migration sweeps. Never have, never will. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that individual who is here illegally that ends up in my custody for committing a crime in our communities. I want the ability to communicate with immigration so that that suspect doesn't get back into our community and commit more crimes when there's an opportunity to get them out of here.
Right. So, I mean, what's to keep these people that have already committed a crime? They're not citizens. They've committed a crime. They spent a little time in a nice hotel room, the jail, compared to some places that they're probably living. This is probably not a bad place to be for some of them. 3 squares, something over their head. So
Full medical.
Full medical. There you go. So they get things taken care of, and then then they're released. What's to keep them? They have nothing here. I mean, what's to keep them from committing another crime? I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand how we selectively choose to enforce certain laws. We talked about it last year a lot. Is what part of illegal don't you understand? I mean,
That's right.
That's the thing that gets me. So we'll see how this one shakes out. I think, folks, you need to spend a little time thinking about it. We're not picking on a group. We're just saying, hey, you know what? This is what the law says. They're here illegally. If they want to come through the process, come through the process. Yes, I know it takes time, but you can do it, and many people do.
That's right.
It's just a matter of doing it right. So.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that one. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's
going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. The other thing on this SB 54, how are they doing the funding?
The funding.
Yeah. So is it going to be another unfunded mandate that our government comes out and says, okay, you got to do this and this?
Well, that's the point of it. They're not saying they're saying we're not doing it.
Well, all right. So then, are they going to provide the funding to do it?
The states, it shouldn't cost us anything. It should cost us less because we're not housing them anymore. They're gone. We can't hold them anymore for ICE.
but they don't fully back. They're going to be somebody.
It's just bad law.
Yeah,
it's bad. Like they said, we know this is bad policy, but it's great
Good
politics.
Yeah,
Terrible.
that's an interesting line.
That's a telling line.
It is very much a telling line. Politics.
Scary.
How about something good? How we doing on our new facility, new sheriff's station?
We are right in the middle of the bid process for the design builder. So we have our construction management firm contract in place.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the table with us. We have the property. We have the rough design or space needs, I guess you could say, and flow. So right now we've had the opening bidders conference. We had our first round of confidential bidders meetings.
Mm-hmm.
We have another one of those coming up, I believe next week or the week after. And the final bids are due August 15th.
Oh, okay. Coming up.
It's very exciting, just in the without giving too much, because it's in the confidential part right now. But the ideas that they're coming to the table, there's 3 firms that are bidding.
Mm-hmm.
The ideas that they're coming to the table with, that for efficiencies and saving money, are amazing. We have one of the really encouraging things that I have heard or not heard through the process so far has been, we really got to watch cost containment here. In other words, we're worried about your budget is maybe right at the edge. It's been the opposite. The conversation has been, we feel very comfortable with your budget and getting this project done. So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
The worst thing you want is, oh crud, we budgeted this much and now we find out it's going to cost more. Our cost estimates were way off.
Right.
So we're right. Everything looks right in the ballpark. Hopefully, like I said, August 15th will be the final, is the day the bids are due. We are allowing 60 days for the review of those bids. So August, September, October, hopefully we'll have one selected. And I know I've said hopefully we'd be in the dirt this fall. Probably not going to happen, depending on the contractor.
Right.
Probably will be early spring. But one of the neat things about the design build process is we don't have to have total final design done before they can start mass grading.
Oh, okay.
Because they'll know what the basic design is.
Right, yeah.
We can start moving dirt and start making things happen, start getting infrastructure rolling.
Sure.
The site improvements for the road and the intersection and those kind of things can actually start. And then that'll cut down on the end time, which is September, October of 2019.
Is access to the new facilities still off of Missouri Flat Road? Is that?
That's the main access route. Will be on Industrial Drive, right there off of Missouri Flat Road.
So there's a couple of ways in, actually.
And then our alternate access for staff
Right.
and employees is off of Merchandise
Right.
on the backside, because part of that property included a lot off of Merchandise that connects to that.
Oh.
So that's going to be a back entrance to get in there.
Okay.
But that's not the primary
Good.
entrance.
Yeah. So I was just wondering what the studies came up as far as the impact on Missouri Flat, and is that part of what they're going to look at?
Well, that was during the environmental impact report and the whole CEQA process. That looked at all of that. Unfortunately, one of the things that came out of it that I wasn't too happy with, but what came out was very little impact and no requirements for upgraded intersections. Now, I've pretty much insisted that no, that needs to be an upgraded intersection. Hopefully, signal, because even though we're not the fire department where when the big red bell goes off, everybody leaves the station.
Right.
When the big red bell goes off, we're already in the community.
Right.
But there are those instances and those times where we have a major crime happen, and we do have a lot of staff that need to get out fast. So having an intersection, a signaled intersection that can be controlled from dispatch for a minute, 2 minutes, however long it takes.
Great idea.
I think is very important. That is included in the project scope, so it's still in there.
That's good. I think that's needed. I just brought that up because at times, we'll have level F traffic on Missouri Flat Road, and you worry a little bit about egress and some of the things that you have to do for that area.
Yeah, transportation talked about because the EIR showed no impact or minimal impact or whatever, we're going to put it off until they do the big interchange there.
Okay.
It goes across to.
Oh wow! Okay.
From
China Garden.
Yeah, that one
right.
there and there, and my answer was, when's that going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, within 5, 10, 20 years. I hope really. So it'll probably be 30 years, like everything else goes in the county. So no, let's talk about it now, and that's how we were part of it. We were able to convince them to keep
They started talking about that interchange you're talking about about 1989.
89.
Yep.
28 years ago.
Yeah. Because I remember specifically when we moved into this location in 82. I remember them talking about that and going, that would be nice to help out the traffic.
Well, there was years ago there was a discussion, and it's got to be on the book somewhere, of all the way around the backside, south side of Diamond Springs, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I think somebody talked about it, but it got shut down pretty quick just because the amount of money it would take to do the backside was very expensive.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so the one they're planning now was less so until, of course, this was interesting. They didn't realize the amount of pollution between the lime plant that was there way back in the 20s and 30s.
Diamond line, yeah.
Right, and then there was the auto wrecking yard that was there that really polluted. That's why every now and then you go there, they've turned that dirt. They keep turning that dirt out like every 3 to 4 years. They'll get in there and they'll turn that dirt, and they're trying to clean it up. It's an EPA thing. And so that was part of the hang-up, was the fact that they had so much problems with that too. At least that's what I was told. Who knows? I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, so
I'm just here.
Well, we want our intersection.
Yeah,
it needs to be controlled.
I believe it needs to.
It's going to be tough.
I really do, and that's why I brought it up. And a little bit of that comes from me sitting on the Transportation Commission for a number of years, and knowing some of the flows and rates and problems that we've had with some of these roads. So I definitely think it's important that that's looked at. So good. I'm glad to hear about that. Well, we've got a situation that we never like to hear about, but we're like many other places. We've got a situation where we've got an increase in crime.
Crime's up. Crime is up. Many times I said on the show and said, God, we're very, very blessed with AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57. We're blessed, but
right.
it's here now, and it's getting. It's very concerning to me because just Monday in my weekly staff meeting, our calls for service have jumped, and we don't know if it's a spike. I'm believing that it's not. This is going to be probably the new norm. Calls for service are up 23% the last couple months. We're seeing it in our communities, from the county line all the way to Nevada. The whole county seeing it. Our staff they're working themselves to the bone. I mean, you figure 23%. That's nearly a quarter.
That's a huge number.
And we've been working with the same staff since 2000, and same staff numbers that we had in 2003.
Okay.
So they're doing not the increases just in the last that nearly 25%, but think of it since 2003 what the increases have been, and we're doing the same amount of work.
Right.
More work with the same amount of staff.
Right.
So it's concerning. We got a lot of things going on that we're working on that to do what we can now. Obviously, the push I'm going to be making to the board this coming year is staffing its time. I'm not saying that we need to just hire to hire. I'm saying that we need to hire to get back into what our needs are, what our community's needs are.
Well, you've always been fiscally very conservative.
Very conservative.
And you've given money back.
Very.
And so things, we're growing. The county's growing. There's new development all the time.
Yeah, and it is a priority for the board. I mean, in their strategic plan, public safety is number one. So, and it was during this budget year's talks. Even though I made the ask this year, it was a light ask. Maybe could have been a little bit stronger, but I knew that they had not planned ahead enough. But the talks were there, and a couple of the supervisors actually said next year the sheriff is going to be needing bodies. So it's coming. But we're doing, I mean, we've done some really innovative changes. One is, and I don't know if we talked about it on the last show or not. I don't. Maybe it's been since then. I think it's been since then. Our whole beat structure has changed. So the typical, it's the way everybody does it. You have a beat, you have beats.
Right.
They were formed back in the 60s. They get tickled a little bit here and there, and the edges change a little bit. The last time I believe our beat system was looked at was in 1992. And we actually had what I call a duh moment. We have the technology now to be able to map crime, look at calls for service, and show hot spots. So while we still retain the old beat lines, we don't have the same beat system daily. Meaning, prior to this change, we had 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. 10 is the core area around Placerville. 20 is the west end down by El Dorado Hills, Cameron Park. 40 is the divide, North County. 30 is South County. 50 is the Tahoe Basin. We assigned, on any given shift, 5 deputies to 20, 4 deputies to 10, and 1 deputy in 40 and 1 deputy in 30. That's what the staffing study shows we need, showed that we needed for the calls for service and whatnot. Well, now, let's say we have the same amount of deputies. Say it's 12 deputies for a shift. Prior to the shift starting, the sergeant will pull up a screen and look at the prior 24, 48, 72 hours calls for service, and it'll show up in little hot spots. So he will draw fences, circles or whatever, around these hot spots. That gets transmitted to the cars so the deputies know where those beat is today, and says, okay, deputy so-and-so, this is your beat, deputy so-and-so, this is your beat, deputy so-and-so, this is your beat. And then after we fill all those hot spots with the appropriate amount of deputies, then we fill in those other communities with what's left over.
Okay.
And it has been, it is being, and it is very, very effective.
Oh, wow, good. Technology is something else.
Our arrests are up, our officer-involved activity is up.
Yeah.
But so are our calls for service.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is we're watching those hot spots move. So we put a lot here, and then the hot spot moves over a little bit. The crooks know they move around too.
Absolutely.
So, but we're putting a dent in it that way. Another thing that we're doing is it's been on the news. It's got a lot of press lately, and I've actually had a lot of sheriffs now reaching out to me wanting our policies and how we're doing it. But our new HOT team, our new homeless outreach team. Now, when this first came to me, and I think I've said on this show too, I don't believe that the homeless problem is a government problem. It's a community problem. It's a social problem. But we got so tired of everybody pointing the finger at us. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? With the crime that's associated with the homeless population, the trespassing, the environmental issues with the trash and the camps and everything.
Right.
We were the ones handling it anyway. We were the ones getting called for it anyway.
Right.
So staff convinced me. It took a little convincing. But I finally saw some value in it. So what we did was we tasked a sergeant and 2 deputies with coming up with a plan. I wanted to see something before we actually did something that proved to me how this is going to work and how we're going to do it. So they actually went around and toured different agencies: Sacramento, SacPD, Petaluma, some other agencies that have had success dealing with and not success dealing with their homeless population, what to do and what not to do. and they've come up with a plan, and in 3 weeks they stood up this team. And I'm amazed. What the goals are is not to take people to jail. That's not their goal. Their goal is to get them off the streets, get them out of the homeless population. We all know, we've talked about, there's the 3 kinds. There's the ones that are homeless by no fault of their own. Those are the ones you can really help.
Right.
Then you have the ones that are completely antisocial. They just want to be homeless.
Right.
And they will always be homeless.
Right.
And then you have the mentally ill.
Mentally ill. Right.
The very mentally ill, seriously mentally ill. Well, the first one and the last one, we can help. We can get them in touch with the right services, with the right people. Getting all these other organizations and these other government services on board has been a little challenging.
Right.
Only Kindness is one of the organizations that's been there with us side by side since the beginning, and is really helping a lot. One of the things that they learned early on and that they were focusing on, which is what we will call the super users. So it's just like in any population, there's a small percentage that utilize nearly all of the services. Okay, and it's the same with the homeless population. There's a small percentage of homeless that are using all of these services. We're always responding to. They're always using ambulances for taxis, anything you can think of. Our deputies they got those identified. They're getting them the final services and getting them lined up with what they need, and giving what we call warm handoffs. Not like the old days where we could say, "Hey, come on, I'm going to give you a ride."
Yeah,
take them down,
go
drop
to
them
the
off
line.
at the county line.
Right.
You can't do that anymore. That's against the law and should be.
Right.
But if there's somebody that's willing to take these people and work with them, and the person is willing, that's called a warm handoff. That's fantastic. For instance, one gentleman, I'm not going to name names, had a family member in the Seattle area who said, "Look, if we would love to take him, we would love to. We want to get him up here." This person had no ID, had no way to get there.
Right.
Had said, I wanted to do that, but I can't get up there. Well, they got his ID back, got him cleaned up, got everything ready, and we did the warm handoff. Got that person out of our community. He's in a safe place with family, and he was one of our super users that was causing probably, I would say on average 1 to 2 calls a day.
Oh my.
A day for us. So that's done.
Good.
That's gone.
Yeah.
They're being, like I said, they're being very successful. Now those ones that the antisocial, they just want to be homeless. That's where we start with the total enforcement part of our vision statement. Okay, well then where are you staying? Because you can't stay there. You're trespassing.
Right.
You can't do this. That's theft. You can't do this. Whatever it is. Then we start hammering them, and then they want to go be homeless somewhere else. So so far it's only been a couple months. It's been very, very successful. I think more successful than any other government program, so to speak, I think that the county has ever run. One of the issues, one of the few issues that we're still running up against, though, is the willingness to get other people in other agencies and other services involved and working with us.
Right.
For instance, getting that person to Seattle, believe it or not, there's no way to buy them a plane ticket to get them to Seattle. I said, well, here's my purchase card. Go buy them a plane ticket. Can't do that. That's a gift of public funds. So we have to go through this whole process of vouchers, which HHSA has a process, but it took them a long time to finally come on board to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on.
You know, the homeless. I've always looked at the homeless situation as sometimes it's a matter of just turn of bad luck. I mean, I've often thought if it
Some.
hadn't been, I've been very blessed in my life, and but you know what? All it could have taken is a different turn in one of those paths. Could have been me.
Sometimes.
And that's the way I look at it. And I have empathy for these homeless people. But I look at...
For that portion of that population.
For that portion. Now, because like you said, there's a group of people that want to be homeless. And absolutely, that's their lifestyle and that's what they want. They want to be homeless. There's nothing you can do with that. But I understand the situation, but as I travel around the state of California, I mean, there's a couple of things that just amazes me. I know that Sacramento has a huge homeless population that likes to go right around, the Capitol and go to places and, the Capitol closes up at night. They move in, they spend the night. The morning comes, and they have to take fire hoses and wash everything down afterwards. I mean, they're not good citizens as far as taking care of that at all. Yeah. And the other thing I couldn't understand, I took a trip down to San Jose. Anyway, as I go into the Bay Area, there's all these homeless encampments under the bridges.
On the overpasses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's all homeless.
And it's almost like it's permanent.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, my God. I mean, and that is part of the sanctuary city situation that's caused the problem. They said, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna be a sanctuary area. We're not gonna, we're gonna allow everybody to come on in. Well, that's what they've done, but look what they've done.
The bird feeder effect.
Yeah. Oh, it's...
Put out the bird feeder.
Yeah, and they'll come.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but I'm glad to hear that we're doing something. It's hard not to have some empathy for these people. It really is.
No, and it's working. It is truly working. So the going back to the original issue was the crime. Dealing with the crime with what we have. That we said it from the beginning. Realignment. Prop 47 and Prop 57, which I affectionately call 213, because that's what you get when you add them all together. This is the worst thing, the worst changes in public safety that we've seen in decades. It's going the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's going the wrong way. And I don't know what it's going to take to flip that. I don't know if it's going to take a bunch of these legislators that are passing these or getting these stupid laws, or some of these folks that are writing these propositions in completely misleading ways for them to become victims, which I don't wish on anybody. But something has to change, because we can't have more knuckleheads walking the streets, not in our jails or our prisons, and not expect more victims.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
So when we get a bump like we have now, I've always felt that most criminals go for the low-hanging fruit. And, we've been very lucky up here to have not as much crime as some different areas, let's just say. We feel fairly safe in our areas. Are we seeing an uptick from people coming from other areas coming into our areas? Is that partly what's going on
That's
here?
part of it. That's part of it. We have quite a bit of transient crime coming up from the valley, but it's also local crime, and it's across the board crime. It's not just property crimes or persons non-serious persons crimes. It's our homicides. We've already had 4 homicides this year.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's very, very concerning that, and like I said, it's a 23% uptick in the recent couple months. But is that going to be the new norm?
Right.
And my instincts tell me that while we were so blessed for so long without that, while we were watching all of our surrounding areas see that, no, that's finally here. This is the new norm. We're watching it very closely. We're looking at, we're starting to engage in new staffing studies. We're getting some up-to-date numbers on populations, calls for service. These calls for service increases and that 23%, that's in calls for service. What is needed to appropriately patrol, provide public safety in our communities with these new numbers? Because it's not good.
So, yesterday, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, one of the things that you can sign up for on the sheriff's website is this Code Red systems, and what it did is that there was a bad guy,
An armed robber.
an armed robber in our neighborhood, and I got a call on my cell phone, I got a call on my house phone, I got a text message, I got a picture of the guy, I got a full description, and I thought, what a great tool.
It is.
It said, hey, this is the guy who was seen in this area. He was somewhere near us, and okay, good. It's good to be alerted what's going on here. Great tool, and it was really good to see. To my knowledge, for me anyway, because it was an area. Maybe it was the first time that I've gotten this type of thing. But just kudos to the department.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the show before. The old reverse 911 system, that's old news. That's old school.
Right.
This new type of community alert, neighborhood alert, zone alert, whatever we want to call it, is fantastic. The problem with the old 911, reverse 911, is it was just landlines.
Right.
Some folks don't even have a landline now.
Absolutely.
Just use cell phones. So anybody can go online, go to the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office website and just Google that and you'll come up. And I believe it's on the right lower hand side. They just changed the website.
Yeah, the website
again.
keeps changing. It's
The county's running it right now. But I believe it's on the lower right side. There's a link for that. And you can go in there. You can put for like Rob said, email, text, phone call. You can put all different kinds of phones in there. It's going to ask you for your address because that's what it's based on.
Right.
And it's critical that you get that address correct. So one of the things that we encourage folks to do is sometimes they have a hard time with the street address.
correct.
For whatever reason, GIS, Google Maps, or whatever won't
We had that
recognize
problem.
it. You had that problem.
Yeah, I had Paula sign up, and so what it does is a Google Maps box pops up with an arrow, and it has, will you please pinpoint where that address is? Because our address really isn't on Google Maps. It's actually wrong, but it gets you there. So we were able to, because I was already signed up with Paula, we were able to drag that to, okay, this is exactly where the address was.
Okay.
And that worked well.
Yeah, do that, or have your tax bill with you with an APN number on it.
Okay, sure.
You can also put it in
Parcel
that
number,
way.
right.
And then that way, whenever there's an issue, whether it's a fire, a crime issue, like it was yesterday, we had an armed robbery suspect that was had actually attempted a robbery at Holiday Market in Pleasant Valley. Was left there. A deputy contacted him, not knowing it was the suspect. Ended up getting in a fight with the suspect. The deputy is fine. The suspect did flee, but fled this direction. So we had saturated the area with patrol, trying to find him, and we put out a code red alert.
Look at all the eyes. that you have
Exactly,
now.
and we
I
put
mean,
out. Yeah, it was fantastic. So we put out a code red, and it didn't matter if you were here or if you were at work. You got it on your cell phone.
Exactly.
So it really, really works, and we encourage everybody. Obviously, the goal would have every resident of the county signed up so that we can get
and this is
clear
not Big Brother,
information.
folks. I know some people that have been resistant. Oh, this is just more Big Brother type of thing, and no. This I wanted to know this. This information I was happy to know, because being in the area, I'm going to be more suspicious. I'm going to keep my eyes open.
Great tool.
Yeah.
Great tool. So the suspect is still at large, by the way.
Yeah.
So
he managed to slip through.
We know who he is now.
Yeah.
And he's also the suspect in numerous other robberies in the county. So
he'll get caught.
Absolutely.
He'll get caught
shortly.
Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt about it. I just hope that nobody's harmed.
Absolutely. Us too.
That's the thing, and on both sides. So, and then I always worry a little bit as a CCW instructor, and people always ask me, "What do you do?" And I hate these "what do you do's." It's like, hey,
do you feel your life is in imminent danger?
Right. Right?
Be a good
that's
witness.
the
Call 911.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing else that you can do about it. But anyway, I wanted to compliment you and the department in this Code Red system. I thought it worked out really well, and it's a good tool for the future, especially if we're seeing what might be the new norm, as you put it. It's sad to see, but I guess that's what it's all about. I mean,
No, it's just this crazy legislation. It's this lies to the public. Prop 47, the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. It's a lie. That was absolutely misleading. If you don't, I heard John McGinnis. He's a smart man. I like that man.
well,
Heard him on the radio the other day. We have difference of opinion a little bit, but he's
a nice man.
He was on when was it? It was after, what crime was it? Oh, when the deputy got shot in Sacramento a few weeks ago. And he was attributing it to, and he rightly so, Prop 47 and Prop 57. And one thing he said, and he's right. If you don't know what that bill says, have you read the bill?
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read the bill, don't vote on it. Because you don't know what it says. If you're going by the title, the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act, Public Safety and Rehabilitation Act, Prop 57, if you haven't read it and that's what you're going by, don't vote on it, because they're so misleading now that it's terrible. And now we're reaping what it was about.
Unfortunately, we voted for, or some people.
Some people.
Yeah, well, the majority, obviously, it passed. And, I have a hard time sometimes with not only the propositions, because we've talked about the whole deal on propositions themselves, but when we have our state senate and the assembly passing out these bills like candy, and we have there is no checks and balances in California. I mean, it's the
one-party rule.
It's a one-party rule.
Yep.
And however terrible the bill may be, it gets passed because there's no way of stopping it, and that's not the way it was
with the theory that it's bad. We know it's bad policy, but
Yeah.
it's good politics.
Yeah.
What does that?
When
That's
you told me that
ridiculous.
one, I couldn't. That it just shows you how the politicians think, and
They're not working for us.
no, they're really not. And my other problem is the amount of bills that get passed and become law. When you look at the penal code and you look, if you could get a printout of it, we've got so many laws on the books that are absolutely nonsense. Nonsense. I've always said it a little bit jokingly, but not really so much to our representatives in this area who tend to be conservative. I said, I really believe you need to write a bill that says for every bill passed, 2 have to come off the book.
Yeah, God bless you.
I've said that to them, and I really because there's stuff there that just makes no sense and shouldn't be there. Absolutely shouldn't be there. So I think that should be part of their due diligence when they really want to pass some kind of stupid bill, which they tend to want to do. They have to take 2 off, and then I have some really big problems. Again, as a CCW instructor, some of the bills that have been passed recently, such as you can no longer be on school grounds. It used to be that if you had a concealed weapons permit, you could go on school grounds and go get your children or do whatever, and you were totally legal. And I look at it as another stopgap measures. Who knows what would have happened to some of the tragedies we had with Columbine and some of the others if somebody had, a good citizen, had been able to help in that situation. Who knows what we could have saved? But no, not in California. We just know that you go through all this training, you get a rigorous background check, you're a good guy. But no, we think we know you're going to be a criminal, and that's the part that gets me.
Yeah,
And,
it just hurts law-abiding citizens.
It just hurts
Criminals or anybody with evil intent, it's not going to stop them.
I don't care what the law says.
Don't care what the law
They
says.
got big sign out there, no guns
They're
allowed.
figuring out a ways to get around the laws. That's what they do.
They just don't pay attention to it. And so I just don't get it. I don't understand the mentality. And folks, I've said this before. I grew up and was born in one of the most liberal places in the state of California there ever was, and that was Santa Monica. Still to this day, it's probably the most liberal city that there is in the whole state of California. And I'm anything but. I'm about as conservative as you can get because I see the light. I just don't follow along. And I have friends, dear friends, that I love, but they don't get it. They don't understand it. And I used to jokingly say I was a Democrat until I was mugged and I became a Republican. And and so that's kind of what I've told my friends too. I said you really don't understand the whole setup and why it's set up the way it is. And we've got more I didn't think it was possible to get more anti-gun legislation passed than last year. We have more already coming out.
Of course.
That does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. We had a little bit of luck with being able to stop the large standard magazine capacity. Remember, they call it large capacity, but standard capacity magazines. We were lucky, and right now we have a stay where a judge said, "Wait a minute, this is unconstitutional."
Right.
And that's what we've been saying all along. And so sometimes there is a little light at the end of the tunnel. You never know, but I'm hoping. I was sharing. I'll share with you folks too, and I was sharing with the sheriff here that I've reached 30 years of teaching firearms instruction, and I've about seen it all. I'm still teaching, but it never ceases to amaze me the way some people are so anti-gun and so don't understand the whole situation. But that's that'll be my opinion. You're welcome to your opinion too.
Bad policy, great politics.
Great politics. I really like that. I really do. Well, you know what? We hadn't done this show in a while, and I apologize for you folks because, believe it or not, I got some people saying, "Where's the show?" Right. And which is really neat. It's neat to know. And I had some issues. We've been busy. My goal, of course, is to at least do one show a quarter. We might do some more because if a hot button topic comes up, I want to get it out to you guys. And the other thing is, if you can spend a little time looking at the website, you can go to the Old Guy Tech TV. Just go to Old Guy Tech TV or Old Guy Tech TV Crime Beat. Our show pops right up on YouTube. We've got, I don't know, we have
a lot now.
Over 100.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Surprisingly enough, it added up.
Wow.
You got to remember, since your first election, we were doing it. We started with this prior.
Oh, we did, elected. Didn't we? Yeah.
So it's been a number of years. You're on what?
I'm in my 6th year.
6th year, yeah. So you figure all the shows that we've done in 6 years to get the information to you, and a little bit so people get to know Sheriff DeAgostini, because I get asked the question all the time, "What's he like?" And I tell him, "Why don't you call him up and meet him?" I mean, he's got an open door policy too, if you really want to know. So. Hopefully some people have taken advantage of that. And
once in a while.
And I help. I'm your PR guy that nobody knows in the background going, "Let me tell you what the sheriff thinks." Because part of my class, one of the classes that I talk about stops. And if you're a concealed weapons permit holder, how you deal with a traffic stop or whatever it may be. And you told me how to tell my students what they should do, and that's every single class what they do, especially, if it's a nighttime stop, you turn on your dome light, you roll down all your windows, you keep your hands on the steering wheel, and you wait till you have instructions. And it's amazing. It's a simple thing to do, but it helps the officers.
Absolutely.
And it helps you. And Masaba Ayub, Masaba Ayub, right?
Yes.
So Masaba Ayub has got, I've had an opportunity to meet him and go to dinner with him and everything. He's got a really interesting thing. He says, whatever you do as a concealed weapons permit holder, don't say the word gun. He says, because many times you have a training officer that has pulled you over and you've got a young deputy that's just, coming around the other side, and all he's going to key on is that word gun. And the next thing you know, you have a gun pointing at you. So he always says, don't say the word gun. So that's my words of wisdom. If you're a CCW holder in El Dorado County and you happen to get stopped, don't say gun. Okay, but do let them know that you have concealed weapons permit, and that'll take care of it there. So, anything else you'd like to talk about? We covered a lot today.
We went through a lot.
We did. We're 49 minutes, so we almost did a 50-minute show.
Good. Good.
So we really did good. And hey, thank you guys for watching and being part of Crime Beat. And as always, there's a place to donate to us that would help us with our equipment and keep things fresh and current, and maybe get a new set someday when we can afford it. And Johnny, once again, I want to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And
Thank
I know
you.
that the public do, because I hear from them all the time on it. So this is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV on Crime Beat. We'll see you next time.